Awesome. Let's dive into today's show, guys. Got a ton of Cavs on the docket, which is where we're going to start. After a quick word from FanDuel, get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if that $5 bet wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Two big-time wins for the Cavs this weekend. They blew the doors off the Warriors on Friday night. They had a double-digit come-from-behind victory over the Nets on Saturday night. I know what Jason thinks on this, so I want to start with Bull, and we'll go around the horn. Of those two wins, the Warriors or the Nets, what was the more impressive win, in your opinion?
They were both extremely impressive. The Nets win was really impressive because you know that Golden State game, they came out there and they wanted to send a message that night against a team that maybe is not as good as it once, or not maybe, is not as good as it once was, but still has one of the, some of the biggest names in all of the NBA. And there could have easily been a letdown against the Nets, and so it seemed like there was for part of that game. For them to come back and win late was great. But in the end, it's got to be the Golden State game, and here's why. That first half may have been the greatest half of basketball I've ever seen in the regular season. I get it's prisoner of the moment to some degree, but, can you play any better than they played in that first half? And while, as I acknowledged already, the Warriors aren't what they were still 7-1 coming into this game. And they had just beaten Boston, the defending champs. They still have Steph Curry. And Donovan Mitchell did nothing in that game. He had one of his worst games.
He had 12 points.
12 points. He shot with he was 4 of 15 or something. So you had your best, look at that, 4 of 13. Your best player was a minor factor in a game. You're playing a 7-1 team with championship medal. And you destroyed them. I know they made it, not quite as ugly in the second half. But that first half was so incredible, I don't really know in the end, as impressive as the Nets win was, that you can make that argument, because I'm watching this half, and you guys know how I've been about regular season basketball. I poo-poo it all the time. I'm watching this half how is this happening? This is crazy. It felt like they made every shot. They got every rebound. Every turnover was on Golden State. Steph Curry looked like nothing it was just mind-blowing how well they played in the first half. So, Golden State to me is the answer.
Well, I'm going to be the contrarian because I know where you're going.
Yeah.
You told us on the morning call. I was really split on this.
It's
common
tough.
sense leads you to the Golden State win.
Sure.
It does. But because I think we need to have both sides of this argument.
I'm making the case for Brooklyn, too, by the way.
Good. Okay, good. Well, then I'm with the smart
Brooklyn.
basketball mind. Here's the case that I'll make. If you're asking which win did the Cavs look more impressive, it's easily Golden State. That's not an argument. But the question is, what was the better win? And that's why I would go with the Brooklyn win. And obviously the reasons are right in front of us. That if there ever was a letdown game or a trap game, that was it.
Yeah.
I had said, half serious, to the house down in Florida after the Warriors win, I said, well, this is probably where the streak ends, because there's nowhere to go from there but down.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Brooklyn came in and they saw an opportunity to take advantage of not a cornered animal, but they were exhausted. And then the reason I would really put the icing on the cake for this one is, what was the second half run? 15-0?
The Nets
went
on a 15-0 run in the second half.
Okay, they go on a 15-0 run. At that point, I couldn't watch the game. I was following it on my phone. At that point, I'm like, it's over. Done. I'm not going to think about it anymore. And then I think Corey sent me a text. I got a text from either my son or a Cavs fan that said, this team's incredible. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? I go and I look, and then I go into the scoring, and I start looking at the play-by-play, and I'm like, what are they doing? This is nonsensical. Because you would think at that point that Atkinson would have said, okay, nice effort, good run to start the season. let's get these tired bodies some much-needed rest and sit down. And really, they never took the lead until very, very late in the game. And I don't think it, not from watching it with my eyes, it didn't appear that Brooklyn started jacking up bad shots or gave up. The Cavs dug out of that hole. And it was at that point where I thought, damn, this is a measure not of your basketball talent. This is a measure of guts. And when you put the recipe together to win a championship, you better have plenty of guts. And I think what I most loved about that win was they're proud of what they're doing. They don't want it to end. They gutted it out. They pulled it together, and they came out with the victory. Did they beat a better team the night before? Absolutely. Did they bury them in the dirt by halftime? That score at halftime is one of the most astounding scores I've ever seen in the NBA at halftime because it wasn't a great team against a bad team. So I think the Nets win was a better win for the Cavs, even though they were way more impressive against Golden State.
Jason, you're going to say the Warriors. I'm going to say the Nets. So you go first. I'll go with my Nets, and then we'll let the chat decide
Very good.
What was the more impressive win, because we're split 2-2 here on the panel.
Yeah, I'm with Bull on this. And I was actually thinking about you, Adam, during the game, because if you go back and you think about when – hang with me on this. When the Guardians were reeling in August, and they came back and beat the Royals.
Yeah.
And you said, like, this
on that
is
last game of the series.
This is the win we're going to remember if they make the postseason. I watched that game Friday night and thought, this is the game that stamps the Cavs to the rest of the nation. You better pay attention to what's going on in Cleveland, because they Warriors'd the Warriors. And they beat them exactly how, when Golden State burst on the scene in 2014-15, nobody saw them coming. Like, when LeBron came back, everybody in Cleveland was talking about the Spurs. It was supposed to be the Cavs and the Spurs in the finals. And then out of nowhere, this Golden State team with this new coach showed up and took the league by storm. And that's exactly what the Cavs are doing. And in fact, Draymond, I was talking to Draymond after the game, and I said, did watching that team feel at all like you guys in 14, 15, 15, 16? He said 100%.
Yeah.
He said, I told Steph during the fourth quarter, I feel like they just beat us exactly how we've beaten teams for years. He said, the drive, kick, swing. He said, we have beaten teams for a decade, drive, kick, swing, and they just diced us up with it. And making the extra pass and all those little things. And to set a franchise record for points and a half with 83, to set a franchise record for largest halftime lead at 41. It was the most impressive of all the things that we've seen LeBron do during the LeBron years. That was probably the most impressive regular season game. And I don't even care about the second half. That game was over at halftime.
Yeah.
It was the most impressive game I'd seen, because they did exactly to the Warriors what the Warriors have done to teams for years. And to do it against that team, and no, this isn't the Warriors of 16, 17, and 18. They're still the Warriors. It's still Steph Curry and Draymond Green. And when you have Draymond on the other side saying, yeah, like they did to us what we've done to everybody else, that to me carries so much weight and validates everything that you just saw. And that win to me stamped the Cavs for the rest of the nation. It's too bad it wasn't an ESPN game. It should have been.
I know.
Yeah.
But that's the game that will have everybody in the country talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers.
So I hear what you say, Jason, and it's very valid. And if the question was what was the more impressive performance, well, the answer is obviously Golden State. But you and I sat next to each other for part of the game, Jason, and I told you beforehand, watch them blow the doors off Golden State, and then Brooklyn's the game, as we mentioned before, the ultimate trap scenario. They're frisky. It can come down. As good as the win against the Warriors was, and I'm not taking anything away because it was an impressive performance. They made every shot. Golden State had nothing. They couldn't do anything offensively. The Cavs' defense was equally as impressive as their offense in the first half. They scored 83. They held Golden State to 41 in the first half. It's a team that had the fifth highest offensive rating going into the game. They scored 41 freaking points in today's NBA. Defense was incredible. But against the Nets, you're down double digits in the fourth quarter. You score 13 points in the third quarter. Talk about 43 points a quarter the day before. Score 13 points. Kenny Atkinson throws out a lineup in the fourth quarter that he had not played with at all this season. And let Ty Jerome, of all people, Ty freaking Jerome, who's been out of his mind the first 11 games, essentially lead the offense and the defensive charge against the Brooklyn Nets, running offense through Ty Jerome. And to have them pull out that win, to get stop after stop after stop down the stretch, knowing that Donovan wasn't at his best, knowing that Darius wasn't at his best. You see Ty Jerome's stat line there. It looks extremely pedestrian. While all 4 of those points and 3 of the 5 assists, both steals, came in the final 8 minutes of the game. Evan Mobley took over down the stretch. Considering what the implications of the game were, which was we just beat a team in Golden State, easy trap scenario, being down double digits in the fourth quarter, implementing a brand new, smaller lineup that we hadn't seen thus far, and just trusting the role guys to kind of lead you down the stretch in ways where you're normally counting on Donovan and Darius to do. In terms of impressive wins, I think that's way more impressive than a game where, not way more impressive, but more impressive than a game where you literally couldn't miss. Everyone was making shots, and it was just one of those nights that everything was falling your way. Not taking anything away from the performance, but hell, they could have put me out there and I could have scored 15 points with the way the Cavs were shooting against Golden State. But the way they shot against Brooklyn, I'm going zeros across the board, and they still found a way to win. So I think by the slimmest of margins, the win against Brooklyn was the more impressive win. The performance against the Warriors was the more impressive performance.
Yeah, that's exactly how I saw it too. But I think it's close on just, gosh.
It was a great weekend.
That's, at the end of the year, we're not going to remember that Nets win. We're
Yeah.
going to remember that
Warriors.
Golden
That's
State
true.
win
Exactly
for a
right.
long time.
The chat agrees with the Warriors, by the way.
I think it's
we all said it was close. The chat, 66% over 500 votes, say the Warriors
Yeah, and I think that's
was
right.
the more impressive.
I just had to try to I didn't know you were going to make the case for Brooklyn, or I would have been 3 against 1.
I really do think like I said, performance, Warriors, win, Nets.
Yeah.
But 11-0 is 11-0,
Yeah.
and that is awesome.
It's the longest winning streak to start a season in the last 20 years, besides
Since the Warriors.
Yeah.
the Warriors
Yeah, yeah.
team.
Since the Warriors.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And when they won 20, when they started 24
And that was
0.
15-16, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the
56,
year
yeah,
where they had
championship
the
year.
greatest regular
Yeah.
season ever and lost to
73
the
and 9.
Cavs in 7.
Yeah.
And speaking of those Warriors, I want to dive a little more into some of the comments Draymond and Steve Kerr had about the Cavs following the game. We'll get to those after a quick